Happy Sunday. Good morning to you guys, Mike and Alex. Happy coming off an Alabama win. We're coming to you per usual. Kind of fumbling over my words this morning. It was a late night, early morning for us turnaround, but Alabama coming off a big win over Georgia, 24-21 in Athens, in Sanford Stadium. I was there, Mike was there, Alex was there. We've got complete coverage. They put more stuff up this morning before we're recording this again on Sunday morning. Mike, Alex, how are we doing in I guess it's 24-hour rule, but it's not over yet.
How 4-hour rule right now.
Yeah. Right. We'll start there. Just kind of overall thoughts, and we'll get going from there.
It kind of went as I expected. I think if Alabama was going to win this game, they needed to do it with the passing game and with their receivers. That's basically what happened. Now, most of that came in the first half, but that was enough to win. They didn't run the ball very well with the traditional running game, which obviously is an ongoing concern. Jam Miller comes back and averages 2.9 yards a carry. His longest run was 7 yards. Kevin Riley averages 3 yards a carry. Longest run was 5 yards. And they didn't play anybody else. Richard Young, Daniel Hill, I don't believe got out there. So they kind of had to manufacture the running game in other ways. And that's probably where they shine through the best, Ryan Grubb at least, where, I mean, you had the game-winning pirouette by Ty Simpson to Jam Miller. You had technically a run by Caden Proctor, which was a backwards pass, a lateral. You had the play where Bernard and Horton lined up in the backfield on third down, and Bernard got the ball and threw it to Horton. Like, you had to find other ways to make it happen. And then defensively, they didn't stop the run very well, which I think was also an expectation, or at least a concern going into this game. So the game kind of played out as you expected. I think it was a matter of how well would the passing game be able to mask the other concerns. And in this case, pretty well. They didn't turn the ball over. There was Ty get sacked
once.
No, he was not sacked. He was 0 sacks. Is what it
was.
He
got pressured once, twice. I'm sorry, twice.
Which, credit to the GOAT, if you will, Nick Saban said who's going to be able to affect the quarterback better in this game. Now, I don't know if Alabama affected Gunnar Stockton very much, but Georgia certainly did not get to Ty Simpson. And there was a lot of plays where I think Ryan Grubb felt perfectly fine going into empty and just letting Ty pick Georgia apart with 5 guys out. And that's how they won the game, and they didn't turn the ball over. And all these things have held true now for 4 games. I think it's an identity of this team. It's the path that this team's going to need to use to win. You're just kind of waiting for the moment where Georgia flipped the script, and they were pretty damn close to doing it on that drive in the fourth quarter, and they get down 3rd down, 4th down, and then Alabama makes a stop. And then from there, you're thinking, is Alabama just trying to run some clock out and to give Georgia as few seconds left on the clock as they can? And in fact, they went down and got the ball pretty deep on that last drive. So, and yeah, they kneeled it down because they got the ball with 4 minutes left, and they kneeled it down to end the game. So that was kind of the turning point, was that stop, and then, everything that happened afterwards.
Yeah, you take any road win you can get, especially a road win against a top 5 program, but there's room for improvement if that's possible, whether you're talking about the rush defense, whether you're talking about the running game. But I think Ty Simpson's probably the biggest takeaway, just the poise he showed. I really wondered what we saw against Louisiana Monroe and Wisconsin at home would translate onto the road, knowing the different looks that Kirby would throw at him. Now, they weren't able to create pressure very much at all. I think 2 total pressures the whole game. But at the same time, he handled the moment at a really high level. I thought he made really good decisions with the football, didn't let some early drops sort of get to him, and some early miscues in terms of having to take some timeouts because they weren't quite aligned properly. I don't think there weren't very many things in the way of false starts. So, they played with the kind of confidence Ty did and this team did that they needed to, the kind of emotion and energy and intensity that they didn't play with against Florida State. So those are all good things, but at the same time, I agree with Mike. This is what the team is. Their running backs are just not incredibly dynamic. I think they had 3 avoided tackles. I mean, on 20-something carries. That's not even talking about the yards per carry average. So I also think Ryan Grubb deserves a little bit of credit for what him and that offensive staff did during the bye week, because they are a little one-dimensional, and he still figures out ways to make it work. And I guess that includes throwing the ball to a 360-pound offensive tackle when you want to. But kudos, because they caught Georgia unaware, and that's what you're supposed to do. That's kind of, if you take a huge step back, it's what you hired the staff to do, was to bring those kind of dynamic offensive looks and develop the quarterback position at a high level. And so far, they're doing that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to bring that up too, because it's something we talked about in the preview show. Something, Alex, you brought up that you were kind of looking at specifically was the coaching staffs going head to head, the offense versus defense. Looks like Grubb got the better of Schumann on Saturday night. And then you also brought up the intensity that Ty brought. You guys were there in Tallahassee. You guys were there in Athens. Night and day difference. I know the games were one game was being played in the day, one game was played at night, but on the sidelines, pre-snap, in between plays, in timeouts, was it night and day difference for you guys?
I will say no, only because I didn't notice some of that stuff live at Florida State. I feel like, to me, that storyline was a little bit overblown in that game.
Sure.
And so because of that, I don't know if there was a huge difference to this game. But, yeah, I think you could tell that they were moving with purpose, as Kalen wants them to do. There was some kind of discombobulation on offense sometimes. There was a substitution that, the 3 timeouts that burned in the first half. There was some things that weren't totally moving correctly.
It didn't feel like they were on tie, though. That felt like just an organizational.
No, that's
right.
And that's what I think Brett was asking about, was just the team itself and kind of having its SHIT together. And I think for the most part they did. I don't know if it was ever that bad against Florida State, as bad as people, wanted to pull Bray Hubbard's scholarship and tear down statues and all that. But it was better than Florida State, yes. Yeah. Look, I think you had players celebrating a lot after this game. You could kind of see them jumping up and down after the game. It meant something to them. I think there was I don't know if there was an us against the world mentality, because I don't know if I think a lot of people believed Alabama could win this game. I think a lot of Georgia fans thought Alabama could win this game. So I don't know if it was like David versus Goliath, but I'm sure to some extent they felt slighted. They felt like they were disrespected, et cetera. And I think they responded well to that. It's just a matter of keeping it up after this, because they won this game last year too. That's kind of the underlying point.
That's the thing, I will give credit to Kalen and to the players we talked to. All of them sort of said, look, this doesn't mean anything if you don't continue to do it, because the rest of the schedule is brutal. Like, Georgia's not as elite, I think, as some people thought going into the season, as some people just think looking at the G and looking at Kirby Smart on the sideline. I still think Kirby Smart's a good coach, but when you have no pass rush and you have very little in the way of downfield passing attack, they can get the ball to receivers and they can run after the catch, but they're not really scaring. Like, they didn't scare Alabama in terms of going over the top. They're like a lot of teams right now in that they have pretty, obvious deficiencies. But at the same time, like, they did take the intensity on the road. And I do think Ty, is it a night and day difference versus Florida State? I don't know if it's that much, but the hesitancy that you saw in that game was gone.
Right.
Like, he righted that part of it, where it felt like in a lot of ways when the operational things were not going right, like where maybe you could look at the coaches and go, why are you having to call a timeout on first down? Or why are you having these early issues in terms of substitutions? Ty was felt to me like the steadying force on all that. He didn't seem to panic at all. And that's what you need out of your quarterback. And that, I think, was our question, because you heard him talk during the week and it was like, yeah, this is any other game. But then at the same time, this is a game you're going to tell your kids about. And I'm like, well, don't make it bigger than it is. And he didn't. He answered that call. And so I think you can feel really good about where his mindset is at going into this game. But again, he's going to need more help. Like, I don't know how you manufacture more of a running game, and I think it's probably more throwing the ball to the running backs, more slip screens, that kind of stuff where it's just high percentage throws. But you can rely on Ty, but they have to become more diverse in terms of getting the ball into other guys' hands and letting them sort of shoulder the burden a little bit.
Ty threw the ball, which I think is the key for him. He had the one early third down run, but he wasn't holding the ball, trying to do too much, scrambling. Yeah,
He's trusting his protection in
Right.
a way he was not the first.
That did not happening in Florida State. He was running around, I think was a little bit too skittish.
Yeah.
Granted, Georgia was just not even getting to him on a lot of plays. So, every game's going to be a little bit different. Obviously, there's going to be teams that pressure the hell out of Alabama, starting with Oklahoma. But, for this game, the game plan, I think, worked offensively. You had to hold on in the second half, but it worked. I mean, you came out and you got the ball in the hands of the guys that you thought were better than the guys on the other side of the field. Bernard, Horton, Brooks, and Williams. And that's how you have to play this team this year.
Yeah. One thing that kind of stood out to me on offense, you talked about it there, Ty getting the ball to his playmakers. Alabama's, there was wide receiver room is super talented. We talked about it a bunch, but you look at it, Isaiah Horton, 5 receptions, Ryan Williams, 5 receptions, Bernard, 5 receptions, Brooks, 2, Cuevas, 2, Riley had 2. It's just kind of spreading it out. It's like you pick your poison there. And, I was listening to a little bit of Kirby. He seemed to be a little bit annoyed last night, but they asked about adjustments, and that was a thing, going in the second half, Kirby adjustments and what is he going to do? And he's like, there wasn't adjustments. Ty beat us. We tried to rush. We couldn't get after him. And when we did, he made throws. So to your point, I think Ty played really, really well. And no matter what was given to him, even an empty set, he was ready to get the ball out quick. And he didn't run backwards like like Mike warned him.
There was one play where he did.
That's one.
Yes. It worked out, though. He literally just turned his back to the field, and I was like, no, you can't do that.
Just got to coach that out of him somehow.
Yeah.
Anything on the receiver just kind of coming off that, or is it just, hey, kind of what Mike led with? We kind of knew this game is how we knew this team would be.
That's true, but also to say, like, they're talented, but I don't think they've reached their potential by any means. I think Bernard had a good game, but we've seen him play better.
Yep.
Horton had a good game. He had a drop. Ryan Williams had an okay game, had a drop, but I think worse than the drop was just the whiffed block that they showed on television. There's just some refinement there. It's not that they're not good enough. They are. They can still win with this receiver core, but I think there's a lot on tape that they can get sorted out. And, man, Brooks is coming on, man. And I just wonder how much more – they're putting him on the field as much as they can, but I think you're just going to continue to ramp that up because, let's face it, what we expected out of Rico Scott's not really happening. Yeah. And Brooks is giving you that, and he's giving you good hands. He's giving you yards after catch. He's giving you toughness. He's giving you all of those things that you're asking for.
Making tackles on special teams.
Yeah, so who cares if he's a former 3-star true freshman? Just put him out there because he's making plays.
Was reading over on Alex's kind of advanced stats that he does every week. That was, again, posted early this morning. One thing that stood out to me, kind of just sticking on offense in the pass catchers, way more 2 tight end sets. Do you think that's kind of just, hey, this is SEC ball, we need bigger bodies in there? Is it that was the game plan? Kind of what were kind of your thought process? Just thinking about the tight end usage last night, Mike, Alex.
It didn't necessarily stand out to me relative to the other games. I think there was probably like the Ryan play, they brought on a second tight end, I think because they were trying to run play action deep and they probably wanted some extra protection. Again, I think they realized as the game went on that they didn't need a whole lot of extra protection. So, they're not going to be involved in the passing game too much. Cuevas had the 2 catches, Lindsey didn't catch any. Caleb Edwards had the 1 catch and third down. I probably to try to help with the run as well. It's just, that's not working. Whoever's in there, it's not working.
I think they're going to use this second tight end in the passing game in terms of blocking and in terms of screens to those receivers. And you saw that a little bit with Danny Lewis getting involved after missing the first 3 games. You see it with William Sanders coming in as sort of a jumbo tight end on occasion. I don't think it really changes dramatically the outlook of what this offense is going to be. But I think they do want to do that. It's just a matter of can they sort of manufacture it and get it to happen, and then just get enough out of Cuevas. I think Cuevas played a really good game. You can get 2 to 3 catches out of him and just keep the middle of the field an option. I think that's a really good place for you to be because again, you have got the receivers on the outside to sort of stretch the field vertically.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as the running back goes, I feel like we kind of hit on it there, but it's like Jam and Kevin Riley show, and I guess see how it goes. And they're going to continue to go to the well, like you said. They continue to go and run. But go ahead, Alex.
And I'll give them that they're not dynamic. They're just not. They run into tackles sometimes, including their own offensive tackles, which is mind-boggling. But at the same time, I'll give them credit for 2 things. One, ball security, which is enormous. And Mike wrote about the turnovers this morning. But also, they do fall forward, and they're at least consistently getting positive yards. And that was one of the biggest flaws in this offense a year ago was the negative plays on first down and getting into second, third long where you've got no real options. So at least they're pushing the pile forward. You'd like a spark to come along, and I think you still keep feeding Kevin Riley because you just wonder what he can be. But I think there's a ceiling on what this running back room is. But at least they're doing the bare minimum, which is ball security, falling forward, and to a lesser extent as well, which is still important, but the pass protection is it.
Yeah. Offensive line, we were going to talk about it no matter what. I will not say ROTATE out loud. I will not use that word out loud. But they did. I'll say it. They did rotate a lot. They did.
You play offensive lineman.
I think Alex, Mike, and I kind of joked at some point. It was like maybe the first 5 to the sideline and you get to play that drive. It was just the combination seemed. We're talking about some guys that maybe we didn't think we were going to be talking about. William Sanders played a little bit more. Obviously, Michael Carroll, welcome for me, Jaden Roberts, but you're going to kill me. But what are your thoughts?
Well, let me just throw a stat out to you.
Yeah.
Alabama has 16 lost yardage plays so far this season. So that's tied for 7th fewest. And there's a lot of really good teams up there. Ohio State has the fewest. Miami only has 13. Penn State only has 13. Clemson, which is a really good team, only has 14. Oregon has 16 along with Alabama. So if you have very, very few negative plays, you're probably going to be good. Bill O'Brien's Boston College Eagles are right up there as well. But yeah, Alabama's only 16 negative yardage plays so far this year, in which I could go back and check. Honestly, probably the first 4 games last year, I don't know if they had a lot either. USF game, they might have had a few, but it's just maintaining that over the course of the year because that became a big issue for them as the year went on last year.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, look, is the offensive line rotation unusual? Yeah, but and maybe it doesn't make a whole lot of sense from the outside, but it worked against Georgia. You question against teams with better pass rushing front sevens how much that holds. But I said it to you guys. I think Michael Carroll's your starting right tackle. I think he's the guy. Maybe you start Wilkin just to sort of ease him into the game. But he's playing right tackle right now. And I don't hate the idea of Wilkin Formby as an interior offensive lineman because the biggest problem with Wilkin is that jump step to the outside. He's just a little slow on the uptick. And there was a play early on where he got beat off the edge. And it's again, against really athletic ends, he struggles. So maybe put him in the inside is a way to go, but it squeezes out other guys. I didn't think Cam Dewberry was that bad the first 3 games, but he didn't play a whole ton down the stretch. Apparently, they're really big believers in William Sanders. Who knew? Credit to Grubb and Kapilovic for having all those guys ready, not having a ton of false starts and issues, which is what you expect when you talk about, you need continuity in the offensive line. And, that's a truism because it's real. But at the same time, they're bucking that as a reality. They're basically saying, we can just roll with whoever we want, be fine. And if you can do that in Sanford Stadium in that environment, you feel pretty good about what you're going to do moving forward. I mean, ideally, you still try to figure out your best 5 and roll with those. But again, it's like I said, going into this game, I don't see the rotation slowing down at any point.
It's sped up, if anything. I mean, Jackson Lloyd got snaps at left tackle because you were moving around Proctor. You had Sanders at left guard. You had Formby at right guard. You had Dewberry coming in and out. You had Roberts playing a little bit. I mean, there was all sorts of guys playing in all different spots. It was crazy. I mean, you had unbalanced lines. You had an extra tackle on the end. Like, it just – I think they pulled out a lot of stops for this game as an offensive staff. Obviously, the question is, can you continue to replicate that as you put more on film game after game? Like, I don't know if you can do as much crazy things as consistently, but this was a game where they were really digging deep in the playbook, and I think you had to because of the run game issues. But if you can settle on 5 at some point, it's probably still the best case scenario.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll be continuing to talk about that every single week. So Alex better bring his take every single week. Flipping over to the defense, we joked about maybe it was first 5 to come up on the offensive line. I think it was 23 players played at Florida State. I'm not sure how many played in the game against Georgia, but there was some times I think in the second half that you and Mike and Alex and I kind of said, why is X out there? Why is Y out there? And why is he there? And the rotations in the defense still don't seem to have that much rhyme or reason. That doesn't mean it's good or bad. Drake Kirkpatrick's playing in a big spot after not playing a lot for the game. It just kind of, I don't know. It's hard to kind of wrap my brain around. I don't think the Alabama defense played terrible. I mean, the run defense we can talk about, but
yeah,
Alex, 23 different players in defense played a snap.
Okay, right. So I mean, I guess it's kind of a similar situation. They keep bringing up competition, and that's what it is. But is there anything beyond that, Alex? Is there?
Yeah, I guess I should use the same logic I use on the offensive line and apply it to the defense, which is nobody's really playing at an elite enough level that they can't be taken off the field.
Right.
Nobody's playing like really piss poor. But at the same time, it's like Red Morgan coming on the field, Drake Kirkpatrick coming on the field, but then Dre made a play on the ball, and he is a guy who I wonder, he has a nose for the ball. I know that's a cliche, but so it's maybe you throw him out there because there are moments where, I'll be honest, Keon Sabb sometimes doesn't look right, and he looks like he's still sort of feeling his way through it. There are obvious moments where it looks like Lawson is still feeling his way through it, and I think they're still trying to protect him in terms of how much they're putting him on the football field. But the blown assignments, the missed tackles, 8 missed tackles, still it's like 3 too much. It's the second chance yards that George is picking up where it's like you feel like you've got an angle on a guy, and then Colby Young just scoots right past you, and you've got what would have been a 4-yard gain turns into 24 yards. And it's just happening too often where they're not really attacking the football. They seem a little tentative, a little unsure in terms of breaking down the play and breaking down the ball carrier. They're not getting the quarterback still. And granted, Gunnar Stockton's a hard guy to get to and a hard guy to bring down, but that offensive line is not a world beater either for Georgia. The question is, it's the same question with the running backs in the running game. Like, who gives you hope that they're going to suddenly provide that spark? Like, who's the guy you're looking at to sort of turn the corner and elevate this defense? I don't know who it is. Maybe Lawson sort of rounds into form at some point, but the missed tackles, the porous front 7, Keenan will get better. I'm sure of that, but it was underwhelming to say the least to see just the tackling and the assignment sound football that you're sort of expecting to see.
Yeah, there's concerns on defense. I mean, without a doubt.
They just kept giving Georgia opportunities.
Yeah, Georgia's 1 or 2 plays away from winning that game, and everybody's talking today about Kane Womack and talking about why there are so many players on defense and why guys can't do X, Y, and Z. Like, margin's not big. So they made the play, the 4th down stop in particular, but run
the
defense.
misdirection continues, and you
Right.
think Vanderbilt's not going to knife you to death with that?
Right. I mean, Missouri's a good running team. There's a lot of opportunities on your schedule for the things that are continuing to show up for Alabama to be exploited. And I think Kane, when he talks tomorrow, is probably going to mention that because that seems to be how he's wired, and that's kind of been a theme for him. So I just don't know what you do. I mean, it's not like you bench people and play more guys. Like, shit, they're already playing a lot of guys. Like, I don't know what you do. I don't know if you reel it in and play fewer guys, and then you have Lawson running around and he's tired or whatever the case may be. It doesn't look right. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can't rush the passer very well. You can't stop the run very well. You have not played a quarterback who's really going to threaten you through the air. I think Diego Pavia is going to be the best at doing that they've seen. And he got them through the air last year. That was kind of the hidden thing. It was like, oh, it wasn't just the option game. It wasn't him running. It was really Pavia's arm last year. And then you have other quarterbacks down the road too. So I don't know. That would concern me more than the offense is the defense. And Georgia's a good offense, but they're not great. They're not explosive for the most part. And you're at some point going to see that sort of offense that's going to get you.
Yeah. And Alabama obviously going to be missing a pretty key piece of its defense in the first half against Vanderbilt. James Smith getting a targeting penalty in the second half. That's not his second personal foul on the season.
Two bright spots. I thought Bray played really well.
Yeah.
He's kind of their chess piece now on defense. And a guy I didn't expect to see show up as much in the stats. Etrick Hill had a good game, 3 pressures, most on the team. Maybe he's a guy who they roll in there and can give you some of what you thought you were going to get out of James Smith going into the season. But I think Kane's going to have to really get dynamic in terms of calling plays. And then again, you're doing the risk reward of exposing areas of your team if you really want to send numbers or get really creative. The rush defense just it worries me for down the road because it's not just Missouri. Tennessee's going to try to exploit that. Oklahoma's going to try to exploit that. Lenore Sellers in South Carolina, they're all going to try to go after that now.
Yep.
Yeah. Special teams. Was the kick blocked?
I don't think so.
I said it in the car. I credit to Connor Talty because he did tell the media he was not going to be ready until he kicked on the road. So, like, he's being honest, but I don't know. I don't really have a question here. I don't really know what I'm saying here.
I think you're going to have a lot of going for it on 4th down. I think
Right.
you're basically anytime you're at midfield, you're thinking, I'm going for this. This is 4 down territory. And with the way this offense is playing and the way Ty can pick up extra yards, it's not the worst thing in the world. But it's unfortunate that they don't have that to rely on. The punting game isn't that bad. That part, I guess, is good. But it's not elite special teams play, which, again, we all knew. But, man, that missed field goal would have looked really bad. But instead, we're going to talk about Kirby not taking the field goal and then just the whole series of going for on 4th down was a mistake. Rushing to do it was a mistake. Handing the ball to Cash Jones was a mistake. He's not your best back. And then going laterally as opposed to going right up the middle of the defense, which you've been doing successfully all night, didn't make sense. Again, there were opportunities for Georgia, but alas, it was Georgia that made the miscues and Alabama took advantage of them.
Yeah, just kind of while we're on that 4th down, Alabama had a 4th down of their own. Do you feel like, I kind of watched that back this morning, was that supposed to be a pitch to jam? You guys,
that looked designed. No, you're talking about where Ty rolled out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looked designed. It didn't look like he was really ever handing the ball to him.
Right.
I don't know about designed runs for Ty. I think Ty's best ability is just buying time with his feet. And if he can scramble and pick up yards, great. But that speed is not quite Jalen Milroe, to say the least.
I would probably agree with that. I'm glad you brought up Bray because obviously a lot of attention was on him. After Florida State, I feel like he's continued to play well. I thought he played really well on Saturday night. I think we discussed it. Who's kind of your playmaker on defense? Probably him. He's kind of your center fielder. It seemed like he played more closer to the line and in the box than he ever has on Saturday night. Do you think that was a matchup thing? Is that, hey, we need him around the ball as much as possible because he delivers the hits. He's a hard hitter. He's around the ball all the time. Do you think you kind of see that more and more, and maybe Dre's in the back end a little bit longer, or Ivan Taylor, and just so you can kind of have Bray up closer to the line? That's kind of another takeaway I had. I don't know if.
Yeah, I think all that's true. The question is, how are you exposing yourself on the back end of the defense? Right. And where is Keon at? You don't give up on a guy like that. I still think Keon's a really good football player. But yeah, I think he almost in a lot of ways he's operating as your extra linebacker. And because of the poor tackling in the front seven, you need that. I don't think there's any way around it. But make no mistake, it's a risk, especially when teams start going play action on them and kind of sucking him down and saying, okay, we're going to go over the top now. You need Damani and Zabian to hold up on the outside. And it was a little shaky on Saturday night, but I think they're going to continue moving Bray around because you have to supplement what you're not getting out of the linebackers.
Yeah, we talk about the game inches. Georgia catches that ball. Keon Sabb gets beat there. You're having an entirely different conversation. But Mike, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think part of that's you're not fearing Georgia too much in the deep game.
Yeah.
They do run some dime looks with Mincy as a deep guy and Bray kind of up front. So I don't know. There's different ways to do it, but you got to make sure your defense is healthy. That's the other thing. This is the time of year when guys get banged up. It happened last year before the Tennessee game where you kind of get into the middle of October and there's all these little things that are going on and you just don't have the consistency in practice and it doesn't translate to the game. So, again, you have some offenses coming up that can kind of get to you. So, I don't know beyond that.
The good news is they won.
Right.
But the question is, how do you improve it?
How do you replicate it?
Yeah, it's like it's not just complacency and all those things we hear about all the time. Like, this is the fourth game of the season. It shouldn't be the finish line. Nobody should view it as that. Right. And I absolutely think Alabama should have celebrated like they did to win the game. I think that's the emotion of this program has been missing for a while too. Even Nick Saban talked about the way players sort of got tense those last few years. I still remember him talking about going to that Tennessee game pregame and guys not jumping around and being quiet behind him. Like, you need that level of excitement and all of those things. But there's a lot of room for this defense and this offense to improve. Like, there are things they've got to get fixed because as good as Alabama looks in terms of finding ways to win, and they're in the playoff hunt now. We can say that. There's not a game on this schedule outside of Eastern Illinois that you can't look at and go, man, what if this team does X, Y, or Z? Mm-hmm. They're going to have to come up with answers for that. And that is true about Alabama and vice versa, what they can do to other teams. But the margin for error, not unlike a lot of programs right now, is very small for Alabama.
Yeah, no doubt. Anything else kind of big picture coming out of Saturday night that you feel like I missed or anything like that?
We'll have to see Quay Rousseau's injury.
Again,
that's kind of what I'm referencing. Quay, Bray was in a walking boot after the game in a lot of cases. That's a little bit, I don't say overblown, but like players are in walking boots a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So stepped on for
right.
Asking about
those, if you go on campus, there's football. There are, like you said, there are boots. All the time. Yeah.
But obviously, like Lawson doesn't seem like he's playing full speed. Keon Sabb may not be full speed. You have Rousseau down. You're missing James Smith for the first half of this game. Keenan's coming back from injury. Like, you start stacking up these things all across the defense. And I guess the good news is that on offense, you're healthier. Obviously, there's nothing at receiver to worry about right now besides Jalen Hale and his illness. There's nothing at running back with Jam back. Your offensive line is healthy. So you feel good about the health and offense, but the defense, it's taking some hits right now. And I think that's something to watch kind of going forward here.
Yeah.
It's the offensive line. And are they that improved, or is Georgia just that bad at getting to the quarterback? We can say that Georgia's not good at getting to the quarterback. They weren't against Tennessee, obviously. But I still think what Alabama put on the field up front is worth noting. And if they can replicate that, they're going to be in a really good spot. They just got to go out there and prove it against – it's weird to say against better competition than Georgia's front seven. But alas, football is weird these days.
Absolutely.
You know what? Credit to Kalen DeBoer. He's off the hot seat now, right? I mean, we can all chill a little bit. He won a big game on the road. If we're going to spend 6 months talking about how he can't win on the road, I think we should spend a minute saying that they did a really good job preparing for this game. He had this team mentally where they needed to be, and he's adjusted since that Florida State game, and it showed up. Now, can you continue it? That's the thing. It's the thing for every team. It's going to be the question for Alabama is, don't start feeling like you're great, because you're good. Exactly. You got to prove you're great every single week.
This was a pretty key week, turning point last season, going from Georgia to Vandy. And something that in the moment they didn't say was an issue, but then later on in the year, players started talking about how they got complacent at this point in the year. So, he's not on the hot seat. And like I said, win or lose in this game, if they had lost this game by a touchdown to Georgia, he would not have been on the hot seat either. I think that would have been ridiculous.
But I think if they had lost by 3 touchdowns and they got out physical and listless and looked like they didn't have the state, that talk would have returned.
But look, if you lose to Vandy next weekend, they're going right back to the gas stations in Huntsville to interview people about what their lottery winnings and what they're going to do with it. So that's the nature of this job, and it's a week-to-week thing because winning is considered normal. It's considered the expectation at Alabama. And when you break with that and you lose a game, people freak the hell out. And I think Vandy would be a perfect opportunity for people to freak the hell out again. So can't do it. That's kind of
It's going to be really interesting to see how Alabama comes out against Vanderbilt and how pissed off they are based off of last year because, Ryan Williams made his comments. Diego Pavia made his comments. Vanderbilt's a really good football team. You're at home. Everybody's going to be waiting to see how they respond to this game. So can you get back up? And when Vanderbilt does throw a punch at you, because they will, again, weird days where Georgia's not good on defense and Vanderbilt is a fighting team, but the mentality going into this game and that line of being up for a game but not being too up, because there's a fine line there, right? But I'm very curious to see how they handle this week and how they go into the game, because it's weird. There's a lot for Alabama to prove against Vanderbilt.
Yeah. To your point, Ryan Williams made his comments. Diego Pavia made his comments. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something from I would be surprised if there's something from Bama's side, but I think Diego and his team may have something later in the week, and he's going to be and to Mike's point, and kind of what he will be walking into that stadium with about as much confidence as any player has against Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
Johnny Manziel.
Right. So I was going to say Johnny Manziel. I saw a video of Johnny Manziel and Diego Pavia there at a bar in Nashville, High Top last night together. So that's good. Diego Pavia, good people to hang around. Yeah, you got a good team around you.
Will also arrive in Tuscaloosa. So it's the full entourage.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of refreshing College Game Day to see if maybe it would be picked. I know we joked about it. The slate is not very good on next Saturday, so there's a chance. I don't know when. I feel like they typically announce it on Sunday. I'm not really sure, but
they announced it a lot of Saturday nights. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet today.
Right.
But it's between Alabama, Vandy, and Florida State, Miami.
Every once in a while they'll throw a curveball and go to like the freaking Dakotas or something. So maybe they're thinking about that.
The Podunk Dakotas.
I didn't
say what you said.
I'm still on the Florida Texas and just flip it. Just do like the, how bad is DJ and Arch?
3 hours. Yeah. Hammer it.
Yeah.
Is Arch you drinking Red Bull and vodkas in Austin on his bye week?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Well, guys, loaded show as always for Roll Pod reaction. Again, Alabama coming off a 24-21 win at Georgia. Alex said it, Mike said it, squarely back in the playoff picture, but it was always about the next week. Vanderbilt coming to town. We'll be back on Wednesday providing full coverage. Alex, Mike, full coverage all week as well, and recruiting as well. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.